Hello, my name is Arthur Wayne Weaver. This is January 20th, 2023 at 11:13 p.m. I've taken photographs earlier with the help of my wife of my hands that were scratched up on the asphalt and the scratches on my neck from when I was choked. And I have timestamps on those. I'd like to recant a short video of the happenings today. I have neighbors across the alleyway from my business office that I've had issues with. They've had them with me, and I've had them with them. This has not been a one-way street at all. Mike Reiling has pushed me to my ass, shoved me to my ass more than once, and he always does it during these confrontations. And he does it when there's no cameras around. There weren't cameras, so I didn't ever pursue it. I'm a business owner. I'm a homeowner in South Pasadena. It's now a rental home. My wife and I live on 5.5 acres in Los Angeles, and a very private home with a private drive. My wife heads up the St. Baldrick's Foundation in Monrovia that for the last 13 years has raised funds for children's pediatric cancer. I have been the founder and owner of a corporation since 1984, and I still run the business today, and probably will for a while. I like it, doing it. In a recent confrontation, when my friends next door in the brewery had obtained a clicker for the gate and had opened it up and had driven a food truck onto my offices, where my offices are, that property, so that they could back it up onto theirs. And that started a confrontation. Now, in almost every one of these confrontations, it's only me, and it's usually me against Mike and Sean. Mike Reiling and Sean, his last name. So it's never a one-way street. The people that work there and their wives and families hear one story, that's theirs, and nobody ever hears mine. And I'm out there trying to protect myself and stand up for myself as a loner. Not always the easiest thing to do. But one thing that has been consistent in these things is Mike and Sean like to tell me that they are very capable and very willing, and that they are going to kick my ass. If I ever get close to them or whatever, they're going to kick my ass. It's happened for time after time after time, and I've never thought that either one of them would ever dare to do such a thing, but they like to threaten me with it. And it happened recently in this debacle with them going over. Now, in a previous debacle, the Arcadia police told me that I was not to go on their property or I would be trespassed, and that they had told them that if they come over on my property, they would be trespassed. And that didn't seem to make a difference when they decided to enter our property. Now, it wasn't just the truck. Mike Reiling and Sean decided to walk onto our property as well, in spite of Arcadia police saying that they would be trespassed. Recently I had been thinking in my head, kind of quite of a jokester. I've been thinking, what would be a funny line is to approach Sean and say, because he was so adamant about it the last time. He said something like, well, you think you're so tall. Well, I don't know how old Sean is or Mike is, but they're much younger than I am. I'm a 71-year-old cancer survivor. So it shouldn't be much of a battle for them to kick my ass if they wanted to. But to just confront Sean and just call his bluff, I today, when I was leaving work, I noticed that Mike was not there to protect him as he usually is, because he's shorter and younger even than I am, and he was working on some cars in Mike Railing's garage across the alley. And so when I drove by, I had said I yelled at him what I had been thinking of, I thought would be so funny. Is that I just said, hey, I've been thinking about it, and, I could really use that ass kicking. I think a good whooping might do me good. It might just change my outlook on life. And you would be doing me a big favor if you would just give me a good whooping. And at one point, I asked Sean, well, whenever you want to do that, let me know. And Sean eventually said, well, why not? Why not right now? And I'm like, yes, I agreed. And so I drove down, parked my car, left my keys in it, left my dog in it. It wasn't as though I expected to be arrested. But it was just me and Sean purposely at a position where there were no cameras. And I'd suggested that. There was no cameras around, and so if you want to kick my butt, here I am. So, and he did the same, and his first things were like, well, okay, go ahead and hit me. And I'm like, I have never said I would kick your ass, or said anything close to that. It's always been you're threatening me. So here we are. You got your big chance, no cameras. I'm just an old man. So, why don't you just have that? Just give me a good one. And he wouldn't do it. So at one point, his wife and some friend came running down along with some other employees to see what was going on. And his wife is just yelling at me. And at one point, I turned to her and I just say, shut up. And at that point, Sean decides to do a Will Smith. Sean decides to do a Will Smith and lunges at me, puts both hands of his around my neck to choke me, and he and I dance around with his hands around my neck, and that's what causes these scratches. But until an employee grabs me by the back of the shoulders and helps Sean wrestle me to the pavement, and the employee holds me down while Sean crawls up on top of me, and I spend the next period of time trying to get up, trying to get Sean off of me, and in the process, scratch the crap out of my hands, and from one being stuck under me. The other thing I really didn't kind of feel at the time, but I am more and more this evening feeling, is a bruised rib, the one that Sean was sitting on. It's my left bottom of my rib cage, and it hurts at one point, and it seems to be getting worse. I would go see my doctor, our general family doctor, Leslie Dudley at the Huntington Medical Group on Union and in Pasadena, but on Monday I will try to see her and get an exam. I would like to get an X-ray of the rib cage to see how much damage was done there. And I have taken photographs, my wife and I, of the damage to my hands and the scratch marks, fingernail scratch marks on my neck that are very apparent, that see, from what I could see, Sean didn't have a scratch on him. He was standing, there was nothing, he hadn't done anything. There was nothing going on with him. I watched him limp at one point, but I've seen him limp a couple of weeks ago. So that's been an ongoing thing for him. That was not me. But I will pursue that. And what I can't believe is that the arresting officer pulled up to the scene with me on the ground and Sean sitting on top of me. And he had to get out along with another officer to pull Sean off. And at that point, when I was down, one Arcadia policeman said, "What's your name?" And I says, "Well, with all due respect, I will remain silent." He didn't like that very much. When he began to add more questions, I continued to say, to not speak at all. So when he did lift me up with another, the first thing he did, this is when the first few minutes, no one had interviewed Sean or talked to Sean at all. This was in the first few minutes of this whole event, and he very straightforwardly said to me, "Well, you weren't cooperative with my questions. You're not being cooperative. You're not giving up your civic rights, your civic rights to civil rights to help me with my investigation and coming up with facts that I can use against you in court." So I told him that my lawyer just said, "Shut the fuck up when you're around police." And I was trying my best to do that. And so he asked me to walk over to the wall and put my hands behind my back, and he put handcuffs on me and told me I was under arrest for not cooperating, which is bogus shit, that an officer could get away with that, and he should lose his job if Arcadia has any self-respect left. But so as I continued to not answer them, the more pissed off the police got. There are several references to he's being a tough guy, and he's one of those, that doesn't want to answer questions, And I can't help but believe that is the only reason that the arresting officer would come up with a misdemeanor battery. Sean, all they listened to, Sean and I went to a place specifically that I had suggested where there were no cameras. They could not be documented. This is just between me and him. And so I know there cannot be any video that shows anything. And so it's basically Sean told his story, and they just said, well, that must be the truth. And they wrote me up a ticket, took me down to the hospital, which I refused to speak anything there. They hauled me off to the Arcadia Police Department, put me in a holding cell until they could fingerprint me and give me my mugshot, which is I had always thought at one point I should probably get arrested at some point because I don't know what it's like. And I won't have any stories to tell when I get older. I mean, I'm 71. I don't know how much longer I'll live. But you know, you'd think that I'd have something to talk about on the porch in my rocking chair. But anyway, I think that this bogus, very unprofessional stretch of the imagination, that anything close to a battery on my part and not Sean's, because you know, when I told his wife to shut up, he grabbed me with both hands by the throat and we danced around wrestling, but both on our feet, until his employee helped wrestle me to the ground. And Sean got up on top and he sat there until the officer came. And the officer saw that I was on the bottom, that I was the one who was beat up, bleeding, scratches on my neck. And Sean but I was the one who had battered him. What a joke. Anyway, I'm saving this. It's 17 minutes long. I hope I can use it in court if I need to, but I certainly will. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking so forward to the abuse of my civil rights. And we'll see how this story goes. Thank you for listening.